Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the webinar, Harris County Small Business Recovery Fund. My name is Gabriela Zambrano, and I'm the director of the Houston MBDA Business Center. During today's webinars, attendees will be in listen-only mode. There will be a Q&A session at the end of today's call. My colleague, Mark Craig, is going to monitor the Q&As. If you have any questions during the presentation, you may submit it online by entering the Q&A panel. And as a reminder, this presentation is being recorded. Also, I want to let you guys know this PowerPoint is going to be shared with the attendees as well, with the link to the loan and everything that you guys have. So don't worry about it. We'll share this information today. Also, I would like to introduce my colleagues, Mark Craig and Deidre Sutton, Business Advisor, and our Office Manager, Jessica Vasquez. This webinar is being sponsored by Houston Business Development, NAACP Houston Branch Economic Development Committee, Houston MBDA, and Houston Community College. Before we start the presentation, please welcome Roger Harris. Roger?
Well, thank you, Gabriela. And listen, thank you for joining this WebEx on the Harris County Small Business Recovery Fund. Just a few weeks ago, we were doing a WebEx with Marlon for the loan stabilization program that they have, that HBDI has. And we learned that there would be this fund that would be coming shortly through the county, that Houston Business Development is going to be administering on behalf of the county. So obviously, for those who have been affected by COVID, either through business or anyone whose family member or friend has passed away, our heartfelt condolences. Obviously, these are extremely difficult times. However, there are programs like this that has been initiated to help you, the small business owner. So the NAACP, the oldest and largest civil rights organization through economic development, we know how important it is to ensure that small businesses like yours have access to capital. And obviously the folks at MBDA can help with access to capital, access to contracts, and that's why they are very good partners. So thank you to Houston Community College, MBDA Business Center. Thanks to Houston Business Development, Marlon and his staff. And this is a great day. This is a great time to get through this, pandemic. Obviously, there's some challenges. We see that the number of cases are going up. And so please be diligent and be safe. We will be in your thoughts and prayers. And when things come up that we know that can help you, small businesses, we certainly want to be at the forefront to ensure that you have all the information. Now, obviously, as Mr. Mitchell goes through the program, and obviously we've got some stats, and I won't steal his thunder, but obviously launching the program yesterday, there has been some tremendous interest. Obviously, when there's grant money, there's small businesses that want to get access to that capital. Having said that, I know that there's going to be a lot of questions, so we'll get through it. And having said that, I'll turn it back over to the folks at MBDA, and we'll be standing by. Thank you, Gabrielle, again for setting this up. And to Mark and Deidre and Jessica, thank you so much for setting this WebEx up and working with our businesses throughout the county to make sure that they have all the necessary tools to make it through the pandemic. Good news is the housekeeping is if we're meeting in person, we have to do a safety and know where the restrooms are, but obviously where you are, you know where they are. So we don't have to do any of that kind of housekeeping today. So anyway, Gabriela, back to you. Thanks so much.
Well, Roger, it's always a pleasure to work with you. You know, you're always going to be part of the MBDA family because I know you were predecessor a few years ago. So thank you for including us and always willing to help and cooperate. We're here to help minority business owners. And if anybody wants to learn more about MBDA, I suggest you to go to MBDA at hccs.edu. But now we're here actually to hear and listen from the man, which is Marlon Mitchell. He is the president and CEO of the Houston Business Development Corporation. So please, Marlon, go ahead. This is your time and feel free to talk as much as you want. We're here to listen to you.
Well, great. Thank you, Gabriela. This is certainly an honor and a privilege. Want to thank MBDA and Houston Community College and NAACP for affording us this opportunity to share some great news during such a difficult and challenging time. Many of you will recall back in March that Harris County Commissioners Court announced a program called LEAP, or the Loan Economic Assistance Program. It was a $10 million fund that they established to try to help businesses that were struggling and trying to stay afloat during this pandemic. Within 28 hours, they had 7,200 applications, totaling $150 million. So they quickly realized that we got a problem here. There is a huge demand. There's a huge need. Businesses that have been negatively impacted by the coronavirus. And that hasn't changed. So the county has recently announced a new program designed a bit differently than the first program. If you'll recall, the LEAP program was actually a forgivable loan, not too much different from the way that the PPP and the EIDL program rolled out. Those are the federal CARES Act programs that are being administered by the SBA. And under those programs, there were, $350 billion in the first round, and that money was gone in less than a couple of weeks. Regrettably, a lot of the smaller businesses, minority businesses, and some of the mom and pops that didn't have the documentation required to get started, those businesses they weren't able to access the capital, or maybe they didn't have banking relationships. So those smaller businesses really didn't get the assistance. Likewise, with the LEAP program, it tended to help the larger businesses. If you look at the SBA standards for a business size, you can have 500 employees and still be considered small. So a lot of those folks who were employing maybe 5 or 10 or 15 employees couldn't get in line fast enough. So with that being said, the county decided that they're going to take a portion of the CARES Act funding that they received for Harris County and once again try to attack this issue of giving our small businesses, which are the economy or the engine of our economy, how can we give them some assistance? So they developed the Small Business Recovery Loan Fund. We've been talking with them over the past several weeks. We're pleased to say that we've entered into an agreement. When I say we, Houston Business Development Inc., we're a community development financial institution. We have a track record of over 34 years of administering government-funded loan programs. We've administered CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant Program for the city of Houston, disaster recovery program for Galveston Economic Development Council for Hurricane Ike, Section 108 loan programs. We currently make loans available anywhere from $5,000 up to $5.5 million under the SBA's 504 program. Our mission is to stimulate growth and to revitalize communities, to combat community deterioration. So as a community development financial institution, we help businesses that maybe a bank can't help. And we do that by providing access to capital that otherwise wouldn't be made available from conventional sources. And then we marry that with, or couple that with, management and technical assistance and support services to help the businesses to grow. And so the county tabbed us to run this Small Business Recovery Fund, which I want to tell you about today. It's very exciting. It's about $30 million. If we can go to the next slide. about a $30 million fund that will be made available to help those businesses that were negatively impacted by the coronavirus. And as I said earlier, a lot of the programs that are designed to help, they are helping, but some of the businesses just aren't able to qualify for whatever the stimulating circumstances might be. This is not a loan program. It's not a forgivable loan. It is a grant, and the grants can be up to $25,000. The way that the county has designed this, and I really, I think Judge Hidalgo and the commissioners are doing a fabulous job in terms of how they're making resources available. So they knew that in the first round of the PPP and the EIDL program, that a very small percentage of minority and businesses operating in underserved communities were getting access to this capital. So what they've done is they've made this program where 60% of the funding will actually go to businesses that have less than 6 employees. And for owners who can show that they have area median income of less than 80%, or they're at 80% or less of the area median income. So that's going to make sure that smaller businesses actually get access to this capital. It's designed for businesses that have fewer than 30 employees. It can be used for a variety of purposes. It's not limiting you to just payroll. It's not limiting you to just utilities or the formula that they had for the PPP program is 1 times your monthly, or I think it was several times your monthly average payroll cost. With this, there is a way to calculate what you're eligible for, but the proceeds can actually be used to cover a variety of business expenses that you might have as we go through this pandemic. As you can see on the screen, the average monthly payroll cost or 2 times your average monthly fixed cost would determine what your eligible grant amount would be, up to as much as $25,000. So it's the greater of the two. The way the program will work is that you will get 25%, 75% of the funding immediately upon approval. When I say immediately, of course, it has to be processed. So within 5 to 7 days, we anticipate that the funds will be made available. But then you'll get the remaining balance, 25%, when you are able to provide evidence that your business is still an ongoing business, that you still have your doors open. And that is likely to occur in November, by the end of November 2020. So you have to keep the business open in order to get that 25% remaining balance. Now, the business has several eligibility requirements. If you go to the next slide, please. Several requirements that you have to meet in order to be a part of this program and to participate in it. Number one, you have to be negatively impacted by coronavirus. And I think we're all negatively impacted one way or another. So that shouldn't be difficult to substantiate, but we will ask you to provide in your application, a narrative or a description of how you were negatively impacted by the coronavirus. And then you'll also have to provide some support documentation, which we'll get into that a little bit later. The business has to be located in Harris County. It can't be outside of Harris County. And this is really important for you to know. Houston businesses are excluded from this. And I know that a lot of people are concerned about that. But Houston and Harris County have boundaries that overlap. They both have been given access to CARES Act COVID relief funding. So the county has some outlying areas that they want to make sure that they're addressing. So only Harris County business owners can apply to this, with the exception of if you are in Precinct 1, you can apply. If you're in Precinct 1 and you are in the city of Houston, you can still apply. But anybody else, if you're in the city of Houston, you would be ineligible. So there are other precincts. Precinct 1, 3, and 4 also have a small overlap in terms of zip code that would be in the city and still be considered in Harris County. Those will not be eligible. So it's only precinct 1. So I just want to make sure that we press that point, because there are a lot of people that are sort of, as we rolled this program out yesterday on the 13th, and it will go through the 24th, but we've seen already a lot of people concerned that they're not able to apply because they're in the city of Houston. So I just wanted to make that caveat. You will have to have operated your business for an entire year. So, well, prior to the pandemic. So we're going to ask you for, supporting documentation for that. As I've said earlier, you have to have fewer than 30 employees, and you have to be in good standing with the local, state, and federal obligations that you might have, taxes and so forth. As I said, we rolled this program out yesterday. You can go to the next slide. And we had tremendous amount of success with it. Usually when you roll out something of this magnitude, you may have problems with the system collapsing or getting bottlenecked. But I'm pleased to report that we've had over 700,000 people go to the site and just to look. Didn't necessarily start an application, but they actually went on. At one point, we had 1,000 people registered at the same time, going in and filling out information. But again, it did not crash the system. And Roger was saying earlier, we've had some success already. We've got about just shy of 4,000 applications that have been processed. They have not been processed for funding because we're still in the application period. The application period will last from July the 13th at 8 a.m. through July the 24th at 10:30 p.m. And that's to allow people the time, owners, the applicants, the time to gather the documentation that they're going to need to submit. So we've got nearly 4,000 applications that have been processed. We've got about another 8,000, just shy of 9,000, 8,845 applications that have been submitted and are in pending status. So the program is really going in the right direction. My fear is that once again, we won't have enough funding, obviously, to meet all of the needs. And it's our hope that if this program can be added at a later date. This is not like some of the other programs on a first-come, first-served basis. The applications are selected randomly, so there are algorithms that are built into the application portal that will randomize the selections, and then we process those. So it should be mentioned, because we do have limited funding available, that everybody won't be selected. But it's not on a first-come, first-served basis, so you don't have to rush to try to get it in. But you do need to get it in before the 24th at 3:30 p.m. So just about every type of business with this program is eligible. You can be a corporation, a partnership, a limited liability company, an S corporation, contractor, sole proprietor. Even nonprofits are eligible. Churches are eligible to apply to this program, which is a little unusual for government programs. But I think, again, given the state of our country, our economy, the state of the world, these are very, very trying times. Everyone can use a hand of help and assistance. Let's go on to the next slide, please. So there are certain businesses, obviously, that are not eligible to participate in the program. And these are typically what we would find with any alternative financing program offered through CDFIs or others. No startup businesses. You have to have, again, at least a year operating experience. Residential builders are not eligible. Speculative real estate investments, gambling establishments, sexually oriented businesses, owners in bankruptcy. You've got to be in good standing with the state, with Harris County, with any federal obligations. If you are in bankruptcy, that will be verified. And I should mention that in the application, there is a certification section where you'll be asked a series of questions that you will have to certify, because these are federal funds that we're dealing with. So everything that you put in the application will be verified. There will be background checks. Unlike some of the other products, however, there are no credit reports. So it doesn't have, this doesn't regard what your credit score might be. It's not looking at your cash flow or your liquidity or whether or not you have a secondary repayment source. In commercial lending and for just regular underwriting, you would normally look at the 5 C's of credit. Well, that doesn't stand to reason here. We're only looking at the basic eligibility criteria. Has your business been impaired? Are you in Harris County? And are you going to use the funds for, the designated purposes, which will lead us into our next slide. So the grant funds can be used for a variety of purposes. You can cover your payroll costs, rent, mortgage expense, all related to your business, of course. If you needed to upgrade your technology, put in a Wi-Fi system, buy a new server, you can cover your accounts payables, any debts that you might have, the interest on that debt to be paid, cover utility costs, have PPE equipment that you need to purchase, or any COVID-related expenses you would actually really need this kind for inventory and supplies. So just about any legitimate business need that you have, you can use this funding for. Just keep in mind that the amount of the grant that you're going to get is going to be determined by the greater of 1 times your average monthly payroll cost or 2 times your average monthly fixed cost. Let's go to the next slide, please. So you can apply to the program by going to harriscounty-sbrfund.org. The application is an electronic application. It is actually working seamlessly. It's a way to keep people safe during this time of pandemic. We won't be able to submit an application by coming to HBDI offices or going to Harris County. All of it's funneled through the portal. So when you go to that portal, you can register with the user ID and password, start your application. If you're unable to finish it in one setting, you can save and exit and come back to it at a later time. But in addition to going in and filling out the application, there are supporting documents that you have to provide, which would be proof of ownership and good standing certificate. For corporations, limited liability companies, and partnerships, you will have to get a certificate of good standing from the state. In the portal, you'll see that there's a way that you can actually be led to that site. So you can go to the site for the state, get a certificate of good standing, and then upload that into the portal. In addition, if you are a sole proprietorship, obviously you wouldn't have that certificate of good standing, but we are going to ask you to provide as documents that evidence that you are a sole proprietorship, namely your MBDA or a business license. We would ask for corporations additionally and LLC or partnerships that they would give us their certificates of formation or certificate of incorporation. Those would be documents that you have to load up into the portal to evidence proof of ownership. Evidence of business operating experience, we're going to ask you to provide us with documentation showing that your business was in existence. So that's typically going to be a tax return for the period ended 2019. Now I know a lot of folks still haven't filed. I think the deadline is for tomorrow. So what you can do if you don't have your taxes filed, you can give us your fiscal year end financial statement, profit and loss statement for the period ended 2019. So that would suffice for giving us evidence that the business is actually been operating. Evidence of expenses and use of proceeds. When you actually did the grant, let's say you get $25,000, you're going to be required to provide documentation as to how that funding is used. So if you're going to buy equipment, then we would want to see the invoice for the equipment. If you're buying supplies, the same thing. You would give us some sort of documentation, evidencing the expenses that you have. There are other things that we'll need as well for family members. We need to be able to, or for your household income designation, we'll need to provide for the owner of the business, either tax return, personal tax return, W-2s, or pay stubs, so that we can actually determine what the household income is, what to verify that. And then proof of identity would just be a Texas driver's license or some sort of ID that you would submit. All of these items can be uploaded into the portal and then submitted along with your application. Once the application is submitted successfully, you will immediately receive an acknowledgement of the same. And then from that time, once the window closes on the 24th, we will begin to process the applications. If your application is verified and approved within a period of probably within 5 to 7 days, you should be receiving the funding. Unless there's some other reason we have to go back to, but that should be handled shortly within the time frame allotted. We anticipate that within 30 days from the date that you receive an acknowledgement of approval, that the entire grant should be funded. You can go to the next slide, please. And so that really kind of gives you the overview of the program. You again can go to Harris County SBRfund.org to apply. If you have any questions at all about the program, you can dial 713-845-2476. We launched the program again yesterday at 8 a.m. It will run through the 24th of July and shut down at 3:30 p.m. So with that, I saw a lot of questions coming in. Gabriella, I guess you're going to take the questions. So the next slide, which is just questions.
Okay. Yes, we are loaded with questions. Okay, so the first one is from our friend Leon Bennett. Good morning. When I dialed the help number to gain clarity on a couple of application questions, I was routed to an individual who informed me the phone number was inaccurate. I believe I was initially connected to the right place, but when I pressed 1 for assistance in English, it routed me to a different number.
Okay. Rather than getting into the specifics of the application process in the portal, if there is a problem that you're encountering, even with that 845-2476 number, I would encourage you to send an email designating what the problem is, and someone will respond to that email quickly. And that email will be info at, I should have put it somewhere in this this presentation, but info at Harris County-SBRfund.org. Info at Harris County-SBRfund.org. And someone will respond to that email and be able to help you with the question.
Okay, we have another question. Do you have to live or reside in Harris County as a business? My business is outside of the county, but 90% of my business is in Harris County.
If you are outside of here, if your location, business location is outside of Harris County, and although you conduct business in Harris County, you have to have a location in one of the 4 precincts. So if you don't have a business located, let's say you have a business that's located in Brazoria County. You live in Pearland, you work out of your home, but you do a lot of business in Harris County, maybe 90% of your business in Harris County. You would not be able to apply because the business does not have a physical address, a location within Harris County, within one of those 4 precincts. And in order to be able to receive funding, you have to be in one of those 4 precincts, or you have to have an address, a business location within Harris County. So even though you may conduct business in Harris County, that's great, but you also have to have a physical location in Harris County.
The next question is, I am able to provide all the documents except for one. I do not have a certificate of good standing. The comptroller's office informed me that it will take 10 days to receive. Can I submit my application without the one document and it still be reviewed and approved?
So again, this is one of those more detailed questions that I really don't want to try to answer during this session. I would suggest, again, if you send an email with that specific question, I'll try to address it as best I can here, but you would also want to send that to the info@harriscounty-sdrfund.org. And so this was not really intended to answer specific questions about the application process or the portal, but more to give an overview of the program and guide people into how they can go to the system. Now, I will say this: if you need a corporation of good standing, that would mean that you are either a corporation, an S corporation, a C corporation, limited liability company, or partnership. You should be able to go to the state. There is a way that you can get that certificate in short order. Within a matter of a day or so. Raquel, am I speaking out of turn? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Marlon, go ahead one more time.
Yeah, so I was just speaking to the gentleman's or the question that was posed, and that is that it would take 10 days to get a certificate of good standing. I believe you can go through the portal, again, the SOS site, and almost get it immediately, right?
Yes, sir, you can. The only time you will have to get a wait on it is if your account is in forfeit status. And if it is or inactive, then yes, they will have to get you a reinstated. You will have to, pay your fees, and it could take about 10 days. But if you just want it instantly, you just go to the Texas State Comptroller's office and they will pull it up quickly.
Yeah.
Within seconds.
So again, the criteria is that you have to be in good standing. So if you're not in good standing, then you're not going to be eligible for the program. But if you are in good standing, you should be able to get a certificate in short order and provide that. But it is a requirement. All of those documents that are listed are required. Once your application is submitted, then we will be verifying the information that you've submitted. Once all of those documents are verified, then you will receive a notice that your grant application has been approved.
Next question. Is this program related to the Small Business Relief Fund with Adrian Garcia? If so, do we need to reapply with this program?
Yes, a great question. So Adrian Garcia, earlier in the year, back shortly after the pandemic hit, encouraged the Commissioner's Court to take about approximately $10 million of the rainy day fund and to start a Small Business Relief Fund, which was called LEAP, the Loan Economic Assistance Program. That's the one that I referred to earlier that they had an overwhelming response to. So if you applied to the LEAP program and you were unsuccessful, because again, you had $150 million worth of applications chasing $10 million. So they were only able to do a small subset of that. So those who applied for LEAP but were unsuccessful, they weren't able to have their application get any consideration, you're able to apply to this program. In fact, we will be sending out sometime today, I think, Raquel, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but there should be an e-blast going to all of those participants in the LEAP program that were unsuccessful in getting funded. Now, let me also say that if you applied to LEAP and you did receive funding, you'll be ineligible for this program. This program is designed to help those folks who have not had any assistance whatsoever. So the way we will process when the applications come in, we will determine how many people have already received assistance. If you've received a PPP loan or a forgivable loan or an EIDL loan, the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan Program under the SBA, if you've received federal assistance already, then you will be put in a tier 2. If you've not received any assistance, you will be classified as a tier 1 applicant, which will be given preference in the randomization process. If after we've gone through all of tier 1, there's still funding left, then we will go back to the tier 2. But our effort, our target is to target those businesses that have not received any assistance to date. So if you've received funding under the LEAP program, under the PPP or the EIDL, you will not be given preference. The LEAP program, you won't be eligible at all. The PPP and the EIDL program, if you've received assistance, you can still apply, but you will be sort of a second tier.
I had earlier applied to the Harris County Loan Forgiveness Program initiated by HGALDC, but was unable to receive a grant. This program an extension of the same program like phase 2, or is this a different new initiative altogether?
So the answer that I just gave to the previous question is the answer to that question. So the LEAP program is what you're referring to, which is the program that Adrian Garcia initiated. It is a totally different program. That was a loan that was a forgivable loan as long as you met certain compliance requirements. That program, they're still processing some applications under that. If you applied through that program and you didn't get assistance, you're certainly welcome to apply to this program, which is totally different. It's not a forgivable loan. It doesn't look at credit. It doesn't look at cash flow. It's not looking at your financial position or condition. It's looking at how you've been impacted. So this is a small business recovery fund, totally different. It's a grant program, not associated with that. But the funds are being allocated by the same governmental entity, which is Harris County.
Easiest way to confirm your address is in precinct 1. We're near a border.
So if you go into the system, there's in the application portal, we will determine whether or not you're in a precinct. If you want to find out on your own prior to submitting the application, you can go to the Harris County website, and that website will actually have a search engine where you can determine what precinct you're in.
A lot of questions around precinct 1, who's eligible, who's not. Do you want to kind of address that in a blanket sort of way?
Everybody in precinct 1, as long as you meet the other eligibility criteria, you're eligible. If you're located in precinct 1, you're eligible. So if you're in the city of Houston and you're in precinct 1, you're eligible. But
Marlon, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. So I think that people are concerned because some of them do have business in Houston, but maybe they live outside. So which address do you use, the business address or the residential address? I'm assuming the business address?
Yeah, absolutely. It's based upon your business, not your residence. The only way we would consider the residential address as a qualifier for where the business is located is if it's a home-based business, if you're self-employed. But if you are applying, you can't apply and say, okay, well, my business is located in Harris County, when in fact, it's not. It has to be located in Harris County. That will be verified. If you live in Harris County, but your business is located in Brazoria County, then you're not going to be eligible. So you use your business location to determine whether you're eligible. Did that answer your question, Gabriella?
Yes, that answered because that was a bunch of questions that were kind of related to that. People didn't know which address to use. So it's always sure to double check. And I don't want to jump.
You will be asked to provide your personal address and your business address, but the business address is what will determine whether or not you're in a area. And so I also want to add too, again, just to make clarification, if you're located in the city of Houston, generally speaking, you are ineligible with one exception, and that is if you're in precinct 1. And again, you can determine that by going to the Harris County website, and they have a search engine, and you can determine prior to submitting your application what precinct you're in. When you do submit your application, we will be able to determine what precinct you're in accordingly.
So here's a question. If a business has already received a PPP loan or EIDL, are they ineligible for this program?
No, they're not. If you've already received assistance under the PPP and the EIDL, you can submit an application. However, in the application, there will be a question asking if you have received funding. And if you've received funding, which again, that will be verified, we will put you in tier 2. And all that means is that we're categorizing the applications as they come in to make sure that people who have not received any assistance at all get first crack at these funds. There's a tremendous need, as Roger said. Our economy is even, I believe I've heard that the mayor and Judge Hidalgo are considering how we can even shut down for an additional 14 days. That's going to have a devastating impact on the economy, even more so than where we are today. And we all get that. We understand it. But so I say that only to say that things are not getting better. So we want to be able to help as many businesses that we can. If you've already received assistance, you're not ineligible, but you will be looked at only after we've looked at all of the businesses that have received no assistance at all.
Here's a question I think I can answer. Can sole proprietors and independent contractors apply? I think the answer is yes, isn't it?
Yes, and I believe Mark, this presentation will be made available to people. So you'll see that in one of the earlier slides where we list the types of businesses that are eligible to apply. And it does include sole proprietors, sole proprietorships, and contractors.
Do nonprofits submit the same documents as regular businesses?
Great question, and the answer is yes. With the exception, obviously, there are no owners in a nonprofit. So we have to have someone who's been authorized by that nonprofit board of directors to sign and authorize that is authorized to sign the application on behalf of that nonprofit. So you'll have to submit 2 documents, unlike the others. The proof of ownership obviously would be your IRS determination letter. That determination letter is basically saying that you are tax exempt in accordance with the the Internal Revenue Service. So you give us your IRS determination letter and a corporate resolution that authorizes the individual, probably the director or whoever it is that is the authorized individual, to sign that application.
Here's a question. There's a lot of questions about geographical eligibility. So this gentleman is asking if you, to clarify, and if I may, I'd like to make a stab at it. You are eligible if you live within Harris County, but outside of the city of Houston. Additionally, if you're in the city of Houston and in precinct 1, you also are eligible. Is that a fair answer?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's see.
I sent you a bunch of questions through the chat, Mark.
Do you want to go ahead and ask those, Gabriela?
Okay, let me ask. So a lot of people, and I don't know if this is, I know some of them, the very personal information you ask them, but for example, they want to know what numbers are you looking for? You looking for 2019 numbers, or are you looking for current 2020 number, or is this a question they need to send it through the email info@harriscounty-sprfund.org?
Yeah, they can do that, and or they can go to if they call that telephone number, you can get mostly any question answered that you have. Also, we don't have it currently, but within the next couple of days, you'll see frequently asked questions that will be on that portal. So many of the questions that you have will be answered through frequently asked questions. Yes, you will have to provide 19. And when I say a statement, income, profit and loss statement, and or a tax return for that period ended 2019. And why is that needed? Well, we need to see that your business actually operated prior to the pandemic. So we'll ask you to provide us with either a fiscal year-end statement for 2019, given that the pandemic started in the first quarter of 2020. So if you have a tax return for 2019 and or a financial statement for 2019, those are the documents that are going to be required. In addition, so that we can see that your business has been negatively impaired, that's generally going to be evidenced by a decline in sales or a decline in assets, or you operating expenses that were reduced. You had to cut payroll. So we can determine that by you giving us quarter. I believe we asked for the period ended June 30th of 2020. So if you give us that interim statement, again, it just has to be the income and statement, and determine the impact that the COVID-19 virus has had on the business.
Okay. I have another question. So I see applications are accepted between July 13th to July 24th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, Central Standard Time. My question to you is, you said funds are going to be released between 5 to 7 days. One of the questions that people have is that how are you going to be distributing those funds? Is that going to be through a check, direct deposit? When would the applicant know that they're eligible? I mean, that they have approved for the loan.
So at every stage, Thank you for that question. Good question. At every stage of the application, when you submit your application successfully, you will get an acknowledgement that your application has been received. Once we process that application, you will receive another notification indicating that your application has been declined, your application has been approved, your application is under review, we need additional documentation. So you'll get a status update. Once the application is approved, then we will send you a congratulations, your application has been approved notification. In that application, there will be a grant letter. It's an award letter that you sign, very abbreviated, just basically talking about the terms of the grant. In addition, you'll provide us at that time your wiring instructions or your bank information. This will be done through ACH. Pandemic, we won't be cutting checks. We'll actually do everything electronically. So you will receive an electronic deposit. Ask you to provide in your once you receive that letter or the notification email, you'll sign the letter. Then you will provide us with your bank name, name on the account, the account number, and the routing number. And then with that, when we receive it, the funds will be wired to you or deposited automatically into your account.
Marlon?
Let me just add too that 5 to 7 days is from the date that we actually approve the transaction. Once we approve it and we get back the information that we need, it'll just take a few days to make the transaction.
Interesting.
Marlon, we're getting a lot of questions about, because people have participated on this webinar, they want to go back and correct their application. Is that possible?
If you submitted an application and it's been declined, you can, there's only one application. So if you go back in and try to resubmit it, it's not going to accept you because you've already been declined. Now, if there's, I would suggest that if you have submitted an application and you submitted something in error, I don't know what that would be, but you can send a description and explain what's happened to the info at harriscounty.sbrfund.org. And let's take a look at that and somebody will respond to you.
We're getting a lot of questions about good standing certificate. Can you and kind of explain that a little more?
Yeah. So as a business that's registered with the state, you're going to have to pay franchise taxes, and you are expected to apply. Well, let me back up and say it this way. You will either be in good standing or you're not. In order to apply to this program, you have to be in good standing. So if you go to the State of Texas franchise account status, you can actually find out in short order whether or not the business is good standing. There's a URL. I did not put that in this site, but I'll state it here just so that people can have it in the recording. https://mycpa.cpa.state.texas.tx.us POA/ that will take you to the state's portal. You type in information, and again, if you're in good standing, you can get that certificate and print it out. And then
I have included in the chat. Oh, sorry. I've included in the chat for all the attendees in case they want this information. And I know a lot of people out through phones and through video. I just want to remind everyone, you're all going to get this PowerPoint presentation. You guys are going to get the link for the Harris County SBRFund.org. You're also going to get the phone number. So in case you want to take it, it's 713-845-2476. And also the email, info@harriscounty-sbrfund.org. Also, we'll send the link to see if you are, which precinct you're located. So I know, guys, you continue to ask these questions, but I really want to make you understand that we'll send an email with all this information. And Marlon, thank you so much for the information. Go ahead, Mark. I know you have more questions.
Oh, I mean, there's, if I use a virtual address for my business, do I use that for my residential address?
I'm not sure I'm understanding that question.
Yeah, I don't quite get it either. My business address is a P.O. box in precinct 1. Will that be accepted?
Yeah, if it's a PO box, I don't think that that's gonna qualify. We need to see the actual business address, the business location. Where is the business located? If business is located in your home, your sole proprietorship, then that's the address you use, not a PO box. So, as an example, we here are at a location in Southeast Houston. We have the Palm Center Business Technology Center. Several businesses that are physically located here. But we also have people who rent PO boxes from us that may be in this area. They may live somewhere else, but they have a PO box that they use here at this center. So they're not operating a business here. So it would have to be the physical location of the business. Mark, before you go to your next question, I just wanted to add a bit of information about the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we want to drive as much of the activity through the portal. That's the best way to submit your application. But if for some reason you just can't get to a computer or you're having some issues, you can get an application, a paper application, and submit that. Now, obviously, if you do that, it's got to go through the mail. It's going to take time to get to us, and then we have to take that information and then process it manually. So we only have 10 days or 9 days now counting to process all of these applications. So we want to encourage everyone to use the portal, use the help number here if you have questions, and also the email address. You can also submit questions too. But I just wanted to make that announcement and make people aware that there is another way to submit an application. And then the best format is for a computer. If you try to do this on, you're going to have difficulty. It's not designed for mobile devices. You can use a tablet. You can use an iPad. But when you log in, it's going to tell you that the best version would be to have a desktop version.
We're getting several questions about annual gross sales. Is it for the past 12 months or is it for the period ending December 31, 2019?
Whatever your fiscal year is, we need it for the fiscal year ending 2019. So what we're trying to determine, so let's say somebody, they end their fiscal year in June of 2019. We would certainly want to see that, but we would also, any information that you can provide that would show where you ended up in terms of your sales and expenses at the end of 2019, December of 2019. So in that case, you would be providing us, if you don't have a fiscal year end that coincides with the calendar year, you would provide us with your fiscal year end statement, again, using the example of June 30th, 2019, but then give us the interim period as well for the period ending 12/31/2019.
This is a good question, I think very pertinent. If the documents I have provided do not satisfy, will I be contacted to provide qualified documents?
Yeah, if you submit something that is not, what we're requesting, you'll get another email. We're gonna let you know that you didn't submit the right information. So.
Okay. Gabriela, I think we're out of time, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think we're out of time. I know there's a lot of questions going on, a lot of personal questions, particularly for their own business. And I want to continue to let people know, go send an email, call, make sure that you go to the website, you register, you start filling out all the paperwork so you know what's missing and you can send us questions. Roger, I know you want to say something.
Well, no, I think that this has been a great start for this Small Business Recovery Fund program. Again, thanks to Houston MBDA Business Center, good folks there, and Marlon, Raquel, Mark, and Moises. Obviously, a lot of questions, but I think Marlon has covered the basis for all of it, and I think he'll restate the email address, but I think once people will start driving the information to the website and email, a lot of the questions will be answered through that, especially more specific questions. Is that correct, Marlon?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, I didn't want to get into the weeds with individual questions about challenges that you might be incurring, but we certainly have a way of handling that. If you will go to the website to start the process, if you're having any challenges, you can call 845-2476, 713-845-2476. We have a team of people available to answer your questions. If it's more detailed, you can also send an email. We're responding to those quickly. If we can respond by email, we will. If we see that it's involved and detailed, we'll pick up the phone and call you as well.
Yeah, so certainly thanks for that, Marlon. Obviously, Marlon's team is here to help and to get you the answers. And if you be patient with them. And obviously, this is a lot of people trying to get information. The good news is that this is not a first come, first serve, as Marlon mentioned earlier. So it will go into the algorithms and they'll start selecting people randomly. So it's not like first come, first serve. As we mentioned, obviously, NAACP is happy to partner with HBDI and the Houston MBDA Business Center. I know that there was a couple of questions. Will there be more money coming? None of us can really answer that question. That's up to folks on Commissioner's Court. We do believe the City of Houston will be offering a program. We don't know what that looks like just yet. And hopefully along the way, there may be some more money coming from Congress, but obviously we're here to serve and to, once those programs are initiated, and if they are something that MBDA or Marlon's group has a way of being part of that, then certainly we'll be at the forefront getting the information out. I know there was a question from a young lady, I believe, who was up in New Braunfels asking, why is the money always for big cities like Houston? I would suggest that you contact the county commissioners in Comal County. Obviously, they're the ones who can make the direction for the counties that you live in. So we certainly understand your pain, and know that all businesses, not just in Harris County, not just in your county, but across the state of Texas and across the country, need help right now. So I would suggest that you contact the county commissioners in your particular county and ask them when or why they will have a program similar to Harris County. So
if I could just add to what you're saying, there will be additional funds. This is a huge challenge across the nation. So there will be additional funds. You can count on that. And there are other agencies that are able to help. Last week we were on the webinar and we announced the Micro Enterprise Stabilization Fund. That's another tool that's available right now to help people. It's a $10,000 program. Has 6 months of no payments. The interest rate is 3%. It's amortized over 10 years. Great program to help people through this time of pandemic. There are other CDFIs, the Lift Fund, Simple Fund, True Fund, Financial Services that are here to help you. So I'm not, it's not just about HBDI. It's not just about Harris County. Every resource that is available, we want to make sure that you're aware of it. And as Roger said, the city of Houston soon, I'm sure, will be announcing another program because they have the same source of capital, which is the CARES Act program. Hold on, you'll see that there will be some other resources coming. And I think for those folks that are in outlying areas, most municipalities and counties are getting access to the federal funds, and then they deploy them as they see fit. Some may put those into residential rental programs, or they may put it into programs that help shelter. Here in Harris County, they realize the importance of helping small businesses. And so they've, to date, they've allocated $40 million, and I do think that there may be a second round. We just don't know when.
Okay, I know there's a lot more questions. So if you have a particular questions, again, I want to encourage you to send it through email or by phone. Thank you, Marlon, Roger, Mark, Raquel, Moises. I see you. I know you just got here, but I think this was great. I know we couldn't answer specific details, but I think everyone got the gist and where everything they need to go. We're here to help the community, and like Roger said, and everyone said this is going to be for a very long time. The numbers are increasing. This is hurting. So we appreciate everyone who is involved about helping businesses to survive this pandemic. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everyone, thank you. We will send the presentation. Have a good day. Bye-bye.